generations. And now, the power of two restores the one.
We got a bidet. Hey everybody, and welcome back for another video. We are back here with episode 3 of the Skeleton Crew. We're very excited going into this episode, coming off of the 2 episode premiere. So very stoked to be able to continue the journey with our kids. And then we just met our character, is it Jod? Is his name?
Yep.
We met him at the very end of episode 2. And then, now it's like, where do we go from here? And also, we're seeing these weird things from Jod where maybe he has the Force, maybe he doesn't. And so we finally start to get some of these answers, um, at least starting to get some of the answers in episode 3. So, overall, what did we think? Did we like it?
Yep, I liked it. It was fun. Um, I love the whole idea. It just makes sense, that there would be some type of space observatory somewhere in the galaxy. I mean, I'm sure this isn't the only one, but this well, we'll get to it later, but um
And so
yeah, I just
cliche
liked
for it to be an
the
owl, but so fun.
Yeah.
yeah. Like I don't know how far you guys got into Avatar, but there's a there's an owl in that show as well.
I don't know that we've gotten that far,
I think in
but
book
I,
2.
okay.
I was waiting for him to be like, it was in episode 2.
No, no, no. Book 2. Season 2.
Um, I think the pacing of this episode was great. It kept me engaged. There was a lot going on. We're progressing the story for our kids. We had a small little flash to see what their parents are up to, and they're worrying about where their kids are going and whatnot, but we didn't focus so much on that to take away from the story. So I thought that was just a good little, you know, quick little glance at what's going on back home. Um, I feel like it's just a fun story and I'm along for the ride.
I liked it too. I will say there was one thing that I had kind of like a come on, can we get on with this kind of a situation? And that was just that, like, right from the beginning, we're leaving, and then as soon as they're about to leave, they're like, "Oh, we left something behind. We left the oven on at home, so we got to go back." And then, so like when I was ready to move on from this section of the spaceport and see what do we learn next about all these different things, we had to go back, and it took a decent amount of time to for Jod to go back and get Shmi, and then we were able to progress. But aside from that, I liked it a lot. And actually, there's a couple of things that I liked quite a bit here. One, when they were trying to leave the spaceport and they had like the gas thing attached to their ship, I thought this was a really cool sequence. I was surprised that they went in so much detail and spent enough time with this sequence, knowing that, I mean, you look at that and you're like, that probably cost them a lot of money to, you know, fully put that together. And so I really appreciated that they had a really cool ship sequence there. Um, Even though it was just them tied to, a gas tank and they were trying to get away from everybody. The other thing that I really like about this episode is just I feel like they gave this show to somebody that really knew what they were doing with pirate stuff. So like there's a when Jod goes back to get Shmi, he runs into somebody and this alien creature sounds so much like a pirate. And then just the way they're talking and interacting with Jod, and then later on in the episode, actually the screenshot I have behind myself when When the kids and Jod are leaving this spaceport and they're heading to wherever Jod is taking them, we get this little interaction with Shmi and Jod where Shmi is kind of like looking him up and down, being like, you're up to no good, and I'm onto you," kind of a thing. And there's like some serious tension here. Shmi is talking very much like a pirate, and I thought it was really great. Like when they're done talking, Shmi goes away and then you hear this clicking coming back, and he comes back, and he says, "Aye, aye," like pirates would. So, I just feel like this show it's in the right hands. We're getting a very authentic pirate experience in the Star Wars world, and I think that's great. So, that's why I liked it quite a bit.
I think with him going back for Shmi alone, I think that was a very key detail of it might have slowed things down a little bit for him to have to go back, but the fact that he wasn't with the kids when he ran into the pirate that he used to know, I think that was kind of important to show the audience of like, hey, here's a glimpse of what his life is like, but the kids don't know this part yet.
Right. We're just keeping a little bit of that a mystery. Like the audience knows who this guy is. Um, we've seen, well, and obviously he gets another moniker in this name from the owl lady. Um, I mean, she has a name. Her name is Kim. But they, um, yeah, they find out more about his pirate life, and the kids still don't really trust him. Wim still, um, he thinks he's a Jedi still, so
KB is
that's
onto
been
him.
fun. Um, yeah, there's like a part where Neil's kind of like picking up his weapon a second when they're in the transport. That part was really funny. You like blink and you'll miss it, or if you're looking at the other part of the screen. Um, but yeah, the episode's been really fun. I get what you're saying about it slowing down a little bit for him to go back for the droid, but that part was also really fun with him like booting back up the old droids.
Yeah.
There's like one from the Clone Wars that says, "Did we win?" That was hilarious. Um,
There's some good one-liners in this show.
yeah. And then obviously when they finally do get out of the spaceport, that's just like a really fantastic scene the way they did that. So the
Another thing I
tension and
like
everything.
Another thing that I like that's going on is I kind of feel like this show is they're kind of aware of what the audience might be thinking as time is going on. So like when they left the spaceport, I think her name's Fern is the one that said it, the one that switches her jacket, not the one with the visor.
Oh, yep.
So she just blatantly said that was too easy. How do we get out of here with this kind of a thing? And so I
Yep.
really think it's cool that they're they're addressing probably what we would be saying as we're watching the show. Like, man, they got out of there. Like for Kenobi, man, she got out of there under a jacket. Like Kenobi had a big bulge when he was leaving the spaceport. Like, how did that happen? So, like here, when they leave and it's so easy, she's like, that was too easy. What's going on here? And then us as the audience gets to engage with that. Like, you are right. That was too easy. What's going on here? So,
Yeah, it's almost like the guy that got them out is very familiar with the area.
yeah, right. He actually, from what I've seen online, he is the hottest thing. Not like visually, but like what's going on with his character is very big on the internet right now. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, Austin, but I know you watch a lot of videos and stuff about, background information of what's going on with our shows as we go. Did you happen to figure out who this Crimson Jack guy really is? No?
No, I usually only look stuff up if I'm really confused about it or if I
Hmm,
don't understand or if there's like a really obscure reference. This wasn't one where I immediately went and looked it up. Um, I know there have been some comics. I think there even is a Crimson Jack character in one of the comics,
there is.
but I didn't really look into it much. I don't know if they have a big major role or anything like that.
Yeah, the name didn't strike me at first. Like, he was acting like, don't tell those kids what my name is kind of a thing. But then when I went on Twitter, because one of the things that I've been intrigued by is, as we watched The Acolyte week to week, there was just negative thing after negative thing on all over social media. So after every episode, I go on and I check Twitter, what's going on with the social media, and it's all positive so far with this show. But also, people were freaking out about his name, Crimson Jack. And so I dove in a little bit, and from what I saw, is that it's a striking difference between the two is that the guy from the comics is like a redheaded, he's got a big red beard. He is this pirate character, so there is a chance that they are trying to use that character in this instance. He just has different facial hair. Um, but one of the significant things that I read that he did was that when Han Solo, helped out the rebellion in the original film and then he got his reward, supposedly this Crimson Jack guy stole that money from him somehow. And then there was this whole back and forth between the main characters and Crimson Jack. So, um, supposedly he was a popular character back then. I had no idea who he was.
Yeah, maybe he's part of the reason Han is in so deep with Jabba.
Could be.
That'd be funny if they tie that in, but um yeah, it might be a spiritual successor to that character. They keep the name but make it their own version. Um, but
Makes me
yeah.
wonder if it's gonna be kind of is it gonna be like a Thrawn situation where, there's definitely a Thrawn pre-Disney and a Thrawn post-Disney. So it makes me wonder if it'll have that dynamic, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see on that.
Yeah, I
Sarah,
mean, I like the character so far. He's crafty. I'm not convinced he's a Jedi yet. I'm
that was
right
my
with
next
the
question.
kids. I mean, I think we kind of know that, right? We we get the pirates. There's a line that they say, Silvo escaped the brig, Captain Silvo. So we can kind of connect the dots and figure it out. Um,
I do wonder though, I'm sorry, Sarah, you haven't really said much. But I do kind of wonder because if if you were a very successful pirate, because
mhm.
like Jedi and Sith, they can kind of predict the future at time, not like way down the line, but the way that Jedi even deflect blaster bolts is because they can see a little far in the future, so that's how they know where to block the bolts. And so it kind of makes me wonder, if he were some sort of Force user, I could see how that would up, his ability to be a very successful pirate. Now, being able to see that there's no credits on the very first ship that we saw him on in the original or the first episode, that would be beyond me.
Well, in the
Yeah,
beginning of this episode, when they were escaping the brig, he was telling them to get back because he could sense that somebody was coming through the hallway. And KB did that at one point too. So then they were wondering, like, oh, KB does she have these kind of powers?
she's got ears. One better. All right. Yeah, I think they just heard him in the hallway or, you know.
Had a funny sense, like
Yeah.
a force sense.
Well, yeah, and he's also completely familiar with the area.
But
Um,
KB's not.
right. But I think she just heard the droid. I think she just heard it coming down the hall.
Hmm.
Do we
Or
know
or,
what she?
or we
I was
don't
gonna say,
like know the visor if that does
right.
anything. So it could have been like a frequency thing where she's tipped off about the technology coming into their area
Yeah, that was
within
my next
their
question. Do we
range of
know
the.
what she sees in that visor? Because if she sees some sort of like thermal vision, like a predator, then there's a chance that she saw them behind the wall or something. I don't know,
Well,
but
Mhm.
what she saw was or knew was coming. It wound up being like a probe droid. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't. It
oh,
wasn't a human or anything.
gotcha.
That's why I kind of thought it was connected to like her visor. There must be some frequency it gives off or something like that.
Gotcha.
It made enough sense in the moment.
Yeah.
Something that I thought was cool was once we do get to our little owl lady, I loved her. I thought she was really neat. And I just appreciate that they took so much time even with her in how would an owl do an observatory? How would they carry books? How would they unfold scrolls? You know, like the way that she used her claws and her wings and everything, it seemed like they paid a lot of attention to not just have an owl in the background of a shot, but she's actually doing all this stuff.
Yeah, it didn't just feel like a magical owl. It felt like this is like a Star Wars species that exists in some planet somewhere in the galaxy. Um, yeah, that's what you want out of like a new species to show up. They want to just feel natural to the world, and I think they did that pretty well.
I could very easily seen um, Kim becoming a thing at Disney World where they're walking around with her on the arm and controlling, the robotic and talking to kids and stuff.
Hmm.
It'd be awesome.
I'm sure that's ahead of us,
Yep, I'm
or
sure the
even in
plushies
the
are
line.
already on the shelves.
Yeah. Um, well, we should at least talk about we talked about a lot of different plot points, but let's go ahead and put them in order. So we start off with the parents being concerned about their kids and what's going on. We do see Wim's character, like his dad. Um, it seems like,
Wendell.
yeah, he's thinking like really hard in this. Like the camera is emphasizing that something is going on with him, and it kind of makes you wonder if he's kind of more of a listener than a talker in this situation because it seems like a lot of the people are freaking out like our kids are gone, we can't go to them, they can't come back, what's gonna happen? And so I think what might be happening is that what did you say his name was?
Wendell.
Wendell. So it might be that Wendell is thinking like what is going on in this society? And I think didn't he like request to talk to the um like overseer and he
I
was
think
denied?
Fern's mom requested,
Oh, Fern's mom?
yeah, to is it the secretary? I keep getting their titles mixed up.
I don't
No,
remember.
she's an undersecretary, is Fern's mom. But then they have what did the droid say that there's like a supervisor? The supervisor told me to come here and talk to you guys. And then they're like, oh yeah, we want to request a meeting with the supervisor.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, we're gonna see who's the person in charge here," and we didn't. Even
Yeah.
we were denied access to the supervisor.
Do you think we'll see them later?
I
Is it a
would.
droid?
I don't think it's a droid.
Okay.
Well, if the supervisor is the person at the very top, I don't think it's a droid. But
Okay.
if the supervisor is below whoever's at the top, then potentially, yeah, I would see that as a droid.
Yeah. Because the way they're setting this up, I don't know how big uh this little town that they live in or this planet, I don't know how far it extends, but um I think the whole thing might be run by droids, the way they're like kind of leading us up. So we'll see where this goes.
Yeah, I'm curious. And part of me doesn't think it will be, but I don't know. We'll see.
Hmm.
Uh, so we get a very small section there with the parents. I think that's all we get in this episode with them.
That's all I want.
Yeah.
I was
Uh,
happy with that. Just enough.
Yeah. Just let us know that the parents are not doing good and then go back to the kids.
right. The kids, we left them in the prison cell with Jod, and then he used whatever he did to get the key, and then they got out of the cell, and then they have to get we again, this is another situation where I feel like they knew what the audience was thinking. And that's so the kids and Jod are leaving the cell. And I forget who said it. I think it was the visor girl said it, where she said, why didn't you if you could do that, why didn't you leave before? And he
Hmm.
goes, I didn't have a ship. So It's almost like they know when the audience is going to ask those questions, and they right there give you the answer. Um,
Yeah.
so
They do that really well, I think, in the first 10 minutes. They answer like basically every question from you have from the first episode, besides like the origin of Captain Silvo, like his background. We don't find that out, but basically everything else they tell us like right away. They just answer every question.
which is nice because I feel like they're being efficient.
Yeah. It's just good writing. I mean, there are things that can be left to mystery for the benefit of the show, and then there are things that are detrimental to hide if you just hide them just to try to make the show more intriguing or more mysterious. Um, like the audience is smart enough to pick up on things, but you still have to, I don't know.
You
They're
sure you
doing
don't
things
want an
right in this show.
episode
I don't know where
later
I'm going with
on,
this, but
right before the finale, that tells you a little bit more information about what's happening here?
yeah, let's just spend an entire episode doing a flashback. Like, let's not connect it in any way
Yeah,
to the episode before or after. Let's just do a flashback.
it's a
Yeah, let's just take one whole episode.
great
That's my
palate
favorite.
cleanser right
Hmm.
before the finale.
Hmm.
Speaking of things that they've done in previous shows that people were unhappy with and blamed the wrong things, one thing that I think this show is doing well is diversity, right? So everybody, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people were saying that people didn't like Acolyte because it wasn't a white guy leading the show. This is just a bunch of kids. Like there is a white guy around, but I wouldn't say he's the lead by any means. And even the kids, they're diverse in gender and species and ethnicity. Like um there's no one set like of any of those things. It's very diverse and
Not to
it
mention,
works.
I was gonna say, not to mention how many alien species they've had in this show too.
Hmm.
Like, I think one of the complaints I've heard all over the social media is that people are saying uh, that some of these Star Wars shows they just don't have enough aliens, or like at the same time, this show doesn't quite feel like Star Wars yet to them. It's just in the universe. And I feel like that's kind of the part that holds it together. We see all these different species, some familiar, some not. And actually, I'm interested in seeing all the new ones that they make. But that's something I think they're doing a very good job with is, not only do we have humans, but we also have quite a diverse group of aliens. They got to get off this little spaceport. They do make it onto the ship a little too easily, and again, like we brought up, they even question how easy it was. But when they get to the ship and they're ready to go, um, the kids say that Shmi was left behind, or Shmi, sorry, Shmi was left behind, and so they talk Jod into going to get him. So Jod sneaks back. He's going through like a droid shop of scrap parts, basically and finds him. It is pretty cool because he turns on a couple of droids before he gets to Shmi. Now, the first one, I didn't quite understand what he was getting at. He was saying something about a prince, I think. And then the second one, I think that's the one that Austin brought up, the battle droid that was asking if they had won the war, which that was a pretty funny one to have in there. I think it's funny and ironic because if the kids would have been with him, they would have been like, was he talking about? Even though that war was years ago. So that would have been kind of cool. Um, but, Jod does eventually get to Shmi. Shmi is very iffy about him at first. And then, Jod is taking him away. Jod does run into somebody that he knows, and that dude is like, did Brutus let you out early? Or does he know you're out? And Jod's trying to like really play it down of, maybe, maybe not, but I'm out kind of a thing. And the dude was kind of saying, in a way, it'd be a shame if Brutus knew you were out. And then Jod tried to like basically book it to get out of there. And then that's when Brutus is alerted that something is going on. And Jod just he does make it back to the little pod thing that takes him between the ship and the spaceport, but he's being chased by people in Brutus's crew. He's being shot at. He does eventually get to the ship, but then when they try to take off with the ship, they're still attached to the fuel line, and so we get a very, very cool sequence here where Jod is trying to, deter from being shot at, but at the same time has an idea of how to get disconnected from that thing. And like I said, they spent probably a good chunk of money on this scene because there's a lot of things going on with the ships. They're crashing into each other. There's just a lot of cool visually appealing things that are happening here, especially for a TV show. Like this is stuff that the last time I saw this in Star Wars, it reminded me was um Rogue One, when at the very end, that like hammer vessel smashed into the Star Destroyer and pushed it. So that kind of reminded me of that when the Star Destroyer was like ripping through the other ones. But so they eventually do get away. Brutus is very, very upset. I'm very interested to see what ends up happening with that side of things. But the rest of the episode is focused on where they're heading. The kids don't know, but Jod is taking them somewhere. Sarah, do you want to pick up here?
Yeah, so he's going to an old friend who he tells them he doesn't 100% trust, that she's the kind that might stab them in the back, which we cut over to see her point of view. We don't get to see her quite yet. I think we're more like just watching through like the glass as we see the ship coming in or something.
And this
Um,
camera work was amazing. I really, really liked this. It kept like us on our toes about it, right? Because they were like panning the shots, like you're saying, kind of like of her view. There's at one point where we just saw her hand, and it was like, what is that hand? What are we gonna see here? And so I thought the tension here was very, very well done with the um, filming.
yeah. So she's calling security like right away, like before they even get to the door, she's calling security and she's going to be in charge of stalling them, because she wants them to be detained because she doesn't trust this guy, right? So they get there and there's the door greeter is like the eyeball from Jabba's palace. I don't know the technical name of it,
Real.
but that's what it looked like. And
Wish I
the
had
first
that for my
one
Ring doorbell.
the first one looked really normal. The other two were on like the longest her eyeballs to be coming out of. Like it almost looked like somebody with a boom prep, like a boom mic, but they were holding the eyeball at the end of the stick. It looked really funny. But they
She's
get
got a
let
lot of
in.
security.
Yeah, lots of security. Which I thought it was weird for so much talk about stalling them for them to be detained. Like they got let in pretty easily. So I was like, well, was she just saying that? She didn't mean it. Um, But they talk a lot about, like, oh, well, Adam, let's try to narrow down what that is based on, what is the terrain like? What do you see there? What do you do there? What do the stars look like? And all that kind of stuff. Um, but Jod catches on that she's stalling, and the kids are wondering why she keeps calling him Crimson Jack, and there's a lot of tension back and forth of what do we do here? And I think he somehow piles her, like once he realizes that something's up, he piles a bunch of books on her, like he knocks them over to trap her for a minute, and she gets out, and I think it's
Right at that time is when that like star map thing popped out and he grabbed it and he's like, time to go.
yep. Was it Fern or KB that was talking to Kim about like, are you really gonna follow him? And she's like, well, it's worked for us so far.
I
KB,
think it
I
was
think.
KB, yeah, right as they were leaving.
Yeah.
But Kim said, "You can call on me anytime."
Oh yeah, because I remember hearing that. I'm like, how? How am I supposed
Right,
to know how to call you?
right. That was my first question too. So hopefully in the next episode, they'll answer that right away, how to call.
I
Yeah, they'll
think
just
that was
kind of be in the
basically the end
corner.
of the episode, right?
Yeah, I
Well,
think so. There's
so
a nice like chase sequence, I guess, as they're getting away from
Oh,
the
yes,
X-Wings that Kim called in.
that's right.
yeah, so the security is the New Republic, yeah, the New Republic, not the High Republic. So we get a couple of X-Wings that fly in. Jod convinces these children to shoot at space police, which is pretty crazy. They're basically using turrets that are, similar to what we saw in A New Hope with Luke and Han shooting at the TIE fighters.
I don't know how I could forget this because Wim was so excited to help out and be a part of that. Like, this is the most exciting thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they even hit one of them at one point. Um, but one thing that's noteworthy is that even though the X-Wing was being shot at, the X-Wing still had their shot set to stun. So they were just hoping to basically fry the systems of the ship and then, be able to talk to them. But our little band of bandits get away from them.
Yeah. Dang those New Republic pilots not being willing to fire upon children. What do we pay them for?
Exactly.
All right. But yeah, that was a nice sequence. As they're like escaping through the even when they're on foot, there's like a nice shot of them with the moon behind. Which I'm actually surprised none of us have that as our background. But um and then they get away in the ship. There's like dust coming off the planet. That whole sequence just looks very good. Between that and then the fuel line getting like slingshotted back into the bay in the
Oh yeah,
earlier
yeah.
scene. Like this one was in the visual element department. I give this episode very high marks.
Yeah, I forgot that when that cable snapped back, it like ripped through a whole bunch of that spaceport. Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah.
So they're on their
Very
way to
not
It's pretty
Atten,
happy.
fun.
right? Or what they think is at Atten.
I think that's what their next destination is hoping to be. I'm not
Right.
sure it really will be.
Yeah, what if Kim actually did the wrong coordinates or something, or thought it was what it was, and they're going somewhere else. That'd be pretty
Yeah,
gnarly.
that's a great question. I don't honestly know where we go from here. Do you guys know the episode count for this
8.
series? Eight? Okay.
So
We
halfway
just saw
next.
number 3.
Yeah, so we're about at the halfway point, so we've got a little bit of story left to tell. Um, I imagine these pirates are gonna come back around. I don't know how, but maybe they track them to Kim and they interrogate Kim and get the information. I'm not too sure. I mean, I guess it did seem like Jod like shot the computer as they were leaving, so no one else could get the information.
That's right.
So he's trying to cover their tracks the best he can, but something tells me the pirates are going to come back around. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
know
we,
how
we
they
also
would.
don't know Jod's intentions, you know. Is he truly just trying to be free, or is he trying to, well, he kind of said he's trying to get a reward for helping these kids.
I had kind of wondered if that was just a way to shut the kids up.
Just seemed like it.
Because that's when they were questioning him, like, what is really going on? And he was like, maybe a reward or something. Like, I feel like that was a cover up.
Right.
Although maybe the destination that they're going to, maybe that's the reward that he's really
Hmm.
wanting as opposed to monetary. But
Yeah.
if
Well, I
I
think he
were,
does tell his pirate friend that he talks to that he might have found the big score he's been looking for.
if I were to guess, and this is just a hunch, if I were to guess how they might be tracked, is when Shmi was in that like droid uh junk place it makes me wonder if they ran his memory and then they kind of know what's going on with these kids. But
Hmm.
that's my wild guess, is that he was
Mhm.
scanned before he was taken.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Either way, I'm excited for next week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
That's
more
that's a
Bruce.
nice feeling of like not knowing where the show's going, but also being excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I feel like at the end of like the last well, the end of episode 2 and the end of episode 3, because we've only had 2 episodes, is um as soon as it hits to the credits, we're like, dang it. We want to
Yeah.
see what happens next.
Mm-hmm. Which is good. They
Yeah.
want to leave you wanting more.
Yeah, it's better than the credits rolling and being like WTF for the 100th time.
Yeah. And having more questions than you had before you watched the episode.
Yeah. I don't mind that as long as we're getting enough answers as we go too.
Yeah, it's
But
like get new questions. You answer some questions and then you get new ones.
there was let's see if I remember back when this show was first, being shown and they had screenshots of what's to come. There was one shot of Jod that was very interesting. Wonder if I can find it really quick.
In the meantime, Sarah, if Jod had a lightsaber, what color would it be?
Ooh. Um, I almost want to say orange, and I know that's not a normal color, but like I can't quite say red. I don't think he's full Sith like that yet. Not that
Hmm.
that's the stipulation, but I don't really see him with like a Jedi type color like blue or green either.
Hmm. I
Yellow
was
seems
thinking the same thing.
yellow seems too much like honor. I don't think he's got honor like that. Can't take purple away from Sam Jackson.
No.
What color you think?
I was thinking I was thinking blue, I
Yeah,
think. Blue tends to be, I think it's the most common, but it's
yeah.
green just tends to be t tied to like very strong force users, and that is not this guy.
You don't think so?
No. I think if he's using the force, he's not very good at it and he is self-taught, which is neat, but I think he's faking it.
Yeah. Well, then how did he move those keys?
I don't know.
I know how Fern was, I think it was Fern was like, it could have been this, even
Mm-hmm.
string. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, but where was the string? You didn't see it. How do you use string and it floats like straight across, not even down or anything?
Mm-hmm. And
Like I
there
hear you, Fern, but I don't believe you.
mm-hmm. And I haven't listened that closely to like the effects that they're using, but they're kind of giving you like a little force noise every time he potentially uses the force. But I don't think it's like quite the right noise, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Can I
Yeah,
just say, when that fuel line snapped back and there was like crazy explosions everywhere, what a missed opportunity for the Willem scream. Like that would have been the perfect
Oh
time
yeah.
for it.
Yeah, you can't overuse it though. It's
I don't know that there is such a thing. I love it.
yeah,
it might show up
it's
later.
good.
I did find the picture I was gonna show you guys. I'll just share my screen and it'll pull up here. This is something that I'm intrigued to see pop up eventually,
Oh.
is that he's reading these weird texts. What are these texts and who is this character that we see? Is this our little creature from, well, I guess he wouldn't be from the Acolyte unless he's incredibly old, but it looks like that little like weasel character. I forget his name.
Oh, Basil?
Yeah, Basil.
No, that's not Basil. We'd see him front and center. Don't you already know we just had a CGI character with Kim? We only got the budget for one of those.
That's fair.
Um, no,
He
this is
looks
interesting. Looking at this makes me think this is at Adin.
he's like
Like,
clean shaven, like he looks different.
That's true.
His hair looks different.
Do you think this is a flashback when he's younger?
It kind of seems like it.
Or do you think he's just gotten cleaned up because he's going to be going to somewhere important?
hmm, that's my first
I don't
thought.
Maybe,
know.
Is it just looks like he's in some like old ruins type mine or something?
well, they do talk about mines at Atten, because then the kids be like, well, you can get a job in the mines or something like that. I forget the
Mm-hmm.
context, but
I think they were wanting oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name now.
The pirate or who?
Wim?
The main boy.
Oh, Wim.
Yeah, Wim, thank you. They were telling him, basically telling him that he's gonna be stuck in the mines because he's not very smart.
Oh, yep, yep. So
Yeah,
that was just
so I think that
um,
m the mining thing, I think this planet might have some ore or some rare metals or something like that.
I just thought I'd share that because that's kind of something that I'm looking forward to in this show is when is that going to pop up? Because that's
Mm-hmm.
very interesting. What is that text?
Yeah, that's a cool
Yeah.
shot.
Anything else you guys want to talk about for the episode? Anything
What
else
color
that you thought was
lightsaber
really
do
cool?
you think, Jeremy?
Oh yeah.
What do I think that Jod would have? I'm gonna go out on a whim. That's kind of funny, I guess. There's a kid named Wim. Um, I'm thinking, do you remember? It wasn't exactly this color, but um, I'm gonna go with orange. I'm kind of wondering. There does exist an orange lightsaber, if you go into, the text and stuff, but I think he's gonna be a little different. I think it's gonna be some sort of shade towards the red, but I don't think he's quite a Jedi, and so maybe like a mix there between the red and the yellow. Is that how you make orange?
Yeah,
Like,
that was the color that I had said too. I don't know if you were listening earlier.
Oh, you said orange?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I wasn't listening. I'm sorry. I was fixated on finding um that picture. The only thing that I remember hearing was somebody said something about it being blue, and I was thinking like, well, that means guardian. So I don't
mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah, that was Austin's guess.
Yeah, I just think generically, if you were to pick one up, it would be blue. But yeah, I could see it being orange as well. Like kind of like Shin and gosh, I can't even remember Ray
Balin?
Stevenson's character Balin. Um,
He's a
kind of like
pirate,
their
so
lightsabers
the
weren't
easiest one to
quite
find and
red.
steal would be blue.
True.
Yeah, but I also wonder, again, with him being a pirate, very different from what we've seen in Star Wars. And if there's one thing that Disney would love to be able to do is to sell more products of things that are unique and different. And so if he has some sort of like orange lightsaber, what I don't want to see is like like some sort of scimitar that's a lightsaber. I don't want to see that. I think that'd be
Hmm.
kind of taking
Well, he
it too
did
far.
pick up a little blade off of one of those
He did.
pirate bodies. That's probably the only thing we didn't maybe touch on. Do you think their ship is haunted?
Um, I don't have a reason to believe it yet, aside from the dead bodies. Uh,
Did you see when they were like going out to their ship and the kids are like, "Well, it's kind of smelly, it's kind of old." And then he's like, "That's not it, is it?" And their ship literally has like a green aura around it, like it's like
like the Flying
stinky
Dutchman.
old. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
exactly like the Flying Dutchman.
I don't know. That's a good question. Like maybe it's a Black Pearl situation where it's like a ship of the undead or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah, I think like there's definitely some effects, some sound effects going on when he pulls the blade out of the skeleton. Um, so it's just a fun little question. I wanted to ask you guys what you thought.
It
An
made me
interesting
wonder.
idea.
It made me wonder if that's a Viro blade, but they didn't give it any context of exactly what the blade was. But
Yep. Hopefully we get to find out who these pirates were that had the ship before. But I'm
Yeah,
okay not knowing too.
I don't know. I don't want too much to be a Pandora's box at the end of all of this.
Yeah.
But what I some of the things I do want to see, like I said, one with the text. I want to know what's going on there. We're definitely going to see that because that's a shot from the show. The things that we don't know if they're going to see or hear about. I'm hoping that we get to see that the kids realize all the things that they haven't witnessed or know about that's been happening in the galaxy outside of their society. I think that'd be really cool to see how that plays out, let alone their families, maybe. Um, and with Wim being so fascinated with Jedi characters, is he gonna have that, you know, that epiphany, or if that's even the right word, like in The Force Awakens when Rey finds out about Luke and she's like, Luke Skywalker, I thought he was a myth. Like, is Wim gonna have that kind of um reaction too when he
Conversation.
finds out that there's still Jedi out there?
Never meet your heroes, kids.
Yeah, exactly. He just might throw his lightsaber over his shoulder and, just make everybody mad.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was our thoughts on the third episode for the Skeleton Crew. We're looking forward to episode four. I think all three of us are on board with this. We're not ready to walk the plank, so to speak, and jump off of it. Um, Very excited, and I'm very happy that we have something to be happy about with a Star Wars show. So. If you enjoyed this type of video, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Drop us a like if you like the video, and drops us a comment letting us know your thoughts on the episode from the week. We will see you next week for episode 4. So until then, see you then.
See ya.